Hello Internet, I'm here to show you how to slice up the Hulk torso. We're going to start with a quick transform to line them up about 90 degrees. Following that, we will align right to the center of our build plate. As you see in my top right, I have my printer selected, Elegoo Mars Pro, and as you can see I can't fit all of it in one go. So I am going to chop this up into 4 separate pieces. If I was to print this on my Creality, it would fit no problem. But we want that high resolution, so I'm wanting to print this on the Mars Pro. The base is another question. I might do that on the Creality. So if you know how to use Mesh Mixer, we'll go over here to Slicer. We want to keep both sides, and we'll leave recommended fit on. And we'll tweak the plane so it's right at 90 degrees. Okay, that slice looks good. We'll do that, and we'll do another one, but on our other axis now. We'll do the same thing, 90 degrees. And that's good enough for me. So I'll do the same thing with this one, slice it up. And now we will separate the shells. Ideally we'd end up with 4 shells, but that's not always the case. So we'll just quickly skim through these and see what that 5th part is. Nothing visible off the bat. Turning visibility off doesn't show us anything important. So I might go ahead and delete that one. Now we will export each of these parts individually. You can name them chest front left, right, back left, right. Just name them something that you can remember later to categorize later on. And then we are off to Blender. Okay, here we are, Blender. I'm importing my model. I'm going to start with the back side. And as you can see here, we have 3 separate groups that I got imported. So we need to join these parts up together. So we'll select all 3 and hit Control J. Next we'll call it, we'll do back right for this side and turn on the visualization, and we'll import our next part. Same thing with this part, we have 3 separate groups that we're going to join together. Same thing, select all, Control J, join them up. We'll repeat the same steps for the next 2 parts. Alright, now that we have all our parts labeled correctly and joined, we are going to insert the cube that will be our basis for our key. That's way too tiny. We'll increase that to, let's say, 10, and that looks manageable. We'll add that. Okay, to start tweaking the edges, we will shift into our edit mode. You could hit select tab or select edit mode in the bottom left corner, and we'll select each individual face and do Alt S to bring in the edges closer together, and that looks about right. So I'll keep that as my key. We'll go over here to our attributes. I think you press the letter N to bring this menu up, and we'll change the Z scale just to shorten that up a bit. Next, we want to snap this down to the model. You go by the closest and then right click, grab, and place by hitting the left click. And you can use these arrows to move up and down, left and right, in all 3 axes. So I'm going to move this key down a tiny bit. after placing the key in the right place, I will do a copy and paste, and I will drag that part down so I have two keys on one side. Next, we will join these two parts together so it's easier to do a Boolean difference or Boolean union later on. And these parts will now be labeled cube. We'll select the part first and hit Boolean. We're going to do a difference operation and select the cube as our object. And we'll hit apply. That will make the changes, and you could see the changes by moving your model or by hiding the cube. We have our first keys done. So now we need to go over to our opposite side and make a Boolean union for the keys that will go into the slots. Same thing here, we select a part, do a Boolean modifier, but this time we'll select union, and the object is the same object as before, the cube. And you can see how it's been highlighted just to double check your work. You hit apply, and now you have a unified piece with the keys to match. We'll repeat the same process for the other three parts. Next up, we are going to rotate our keys so we can line it up with the opposite side of the walls. So we could repeat steps 1 and 2 again so we can get the keys in the right side. And finally, we can export each of these parts again as an OBJ to import into G2Box for slicing. And finally, I will double check my work to make sure everything is keyed correctly. Okay, we are here in 2 out of 4 models into G2Box. I'm going to start with the back side, and I will try to fit both of these so I only have 2 prints to do for the chest instead of 4 separate ones. You can see my settings here. I'm using 3D Printing Pro setting. And then I will manually put supports along the bottom parts. I space them out roughly 5 per side if possible, and make sure to get each corner, and I like to leave room in the middle to add the drainage holes. I always hollow my models to 3mm. I always do manual supports for all of my models as the parts come out a lot cleaner and there's less post-processing to do. Now this support will go through that first model, but it's okay, I could always snip it off after the fact. I want to make sure that that tip is supported because I want to make this work in one print. For my models, I always hollow them to 3mm. Other people will leave them full, but I typically do this for saving on resin, and also it reduces the vacuum effect on your printer, and it'll save your FEP sheet. I'm thinking it'll help it last longer, but who knows. And last but not least, I will slice my models. I'm using the Tech Fast white with the 6.5 second exposure time and 45 seconds for the first layer. A 9-hour and 55-minute print time looks about right since I'm using about the entire Z-axis on my Mars. I'll do one last island check. I will save the file first on my local drive and then I will copy it over to my flash drive.